Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain, where we just topped up our coffee. We do not have any rain, although it does seem as though tomorrow we shall have some, which I am looking forward to because I do think that's going to bring some cooler weather. And then we almost always have some books. There is a substantial amount of construction going on outside of my apartment around the pool area as they are resurfacing the concrete. So I am crossing fingers you cannot hear that, and I'm going to angle my microphone away from that. Just crossing fingers that you guys... Why does it feel like it's getting louder? Okay, I think it's dwindling. But, alright, anyway, I just happened to turn on my mic as soon as that was rushing past. I could hear it pretty substantially. I do not know if you could. But we are reading or reviewing Not for the Faint of Heart by Lex Croucher today. And this book is expected to be released November 26th of 2024. Now, this was a really fun book, and I had a pretty good time. I'm going to give it 4 stars. It has a fantasy element, and it's not a retelling, but I would say that it's kind of a unofficial sequel, I guess, if you could, to maybe Robin Hood. And I'll tell you why as we get into the summary. So let us dive into that. Let me pull up the summary real quick right here, and we're going to go from there. Beloved author Lex Croucher's second queer historical YA romance with all the swoons, laughs, and heart-pounding moments you expect from a story about the granddaughter of Robin Hood and the girl she's accidentally kidnapped. "You aren't Mary," said Clem to her captor, "and you aren't all men." So there's been some marketing confusion somewhere along the line. Mariel, a newly blooded and perpetually grumpy captain of the Merry Men, is desperate to live up to the legacy of her grandfather, the legendary Robin Hood. Clem, a perky backwoods healer known for her newfangled cures, just wants to help people. So when Mariel's ramshackled band of bandits kidnaps Clem as retribution for her guardian, helping the sheriff of Nottingham, all seems to be going, sort of, to plan, until Jack Hartley, Mariel's father and commander of the Merry Men, is captured in a deadly ambush. Determined to prove herself, Mariel sets out to get him back with her annoyingly cheerful kidnappee in tow. But the wood is at war, and many believe the Merry Men are no longer on the right side of history. Watching Clem tend the party's wounds and crack relentlessly terrible jokes, Mariel begins to doubt the noble cause to which she's devoted her life. And as the two of them grow closer, forced by circumstance to share a horse and bed, so you've got that kind of forced proximity, single bed situation, one thing is clear: they must prepare to fight for their lives and for those of everyone they've sworn to protect. Lex Croucher's Not for the Faint of Heart is a thrilling adventure full of hijinks, found family, and romance destined to change the lives of the inhabitants of the Greenwood Forest forever. So romance, fantasy, lesbian, young adult, LGBT, and queer. So this is... I had the audiobook, and I'm just going to look real quick. I want to say Not for the Faint of Heart was somewhere around 11 and a half hours from what my NetGalley app kind of showed me. I did have the audiobook version, like I said. So according to Goodreads, not NetGalley, but according to Goodreads, this book has approximately 400 pages. So just letting you guys know. I don't want to think that's too long or too heavy hitting. I think it goes by very quickly. I know the audiobook did for me. And so, let's dive into my thoughts. We start off with Clem, being in the hut with the healer who is she's apprenticed to, and in burst the merry men, so to speak. But their moniker is no longer, I guess, apt, as the merry men is now kind of multi-gendered, so to speak, because Mariel is leading this force, and she is a brooding sort of figure to behold. And, well, with a little bit of bargaining, with a little bit of sass and wit, Mariel decides to take Clem, the younger of the two, instead of the older healer individual. And it's because they think she's going to be maybe a little more valuable as well. Maybe her healing potions are going to be better in maybe to heal the wounded, heal the sick, all of that sort of stuff. So they think she's going to be a more valuable asset to take. And off they go into the woods. Well, Clem does not seem too upset about being kidnapped. She absolutely thinks like, well, this is fine. This is not a terrible thing to happen to me. And so it does really start off very grumpy sunshine in a lot of different ways. You do have Clem being the sunshine. You do have Mariel being the grumpy Gus. And it works really well because I don't want to say it's a slow burn romance, and it doesn't happen super fast in my personal opinion either. There are some books I have picked up where it's just like, first they're like, okay, we're not getting along, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're like romantically into each other by page 2 or chapter 2, and it's like, that was really fast. I felt like this one was like, at least there was a build up to it. Now, I've also read books, it's like by the end of the page, they call it a romance, or by the end of the book, we still really have only like a small kiss on the cheek, and we're like, well, where was the romance part? Like, it was all just tension. And now even me as a reader, I'm frustrated. So I almost can't even call those romance either. So that's where I kind of feel like this book, in that respect, really does kind of hit a pretty good balance with finding like a good, I guess, flow with working into the romance. I don't think I would call it Stockholm Syndrome. Again, Clem goes pretty willingly. She actually convinces them to take her instead of the older healer. So she seems to be up for this adventure. It's not like what I would say Belle and the Beast, where Belle is very adamantly like, I don't want to be here, and then by like evening 2, she's like, oh, this is great, I'm having a great time. No, Clem is just like, oh yeah, I want adventure, I want fun, let's just see where this goes. And off they go into the woods, and she realizes pretty quickly that like they don't tie her bonds very tightly, they don't put her like blindfold on, like I don't know if they're not doing it well or if they're just not that mean. But that's where some of the humor, in my personal opinion, comes from. Is like they try to be intimidating, but it comes off, at least when it comes to Clem, as being not super intimidating. Like they're not doing a great job. And at least when we were back in the realm of Robin Hood, the men and like the merry men were a little bit more polished, so to speak. Yeah, they were rough around the edges. They were men of the woods. But they seem to have at least some, I don't know, cutthroat abilities. I'm really going a lot of like my thoughts based on like the Kevin Costner movie from like the late 90s. Is it the 90s? It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but man, that was a good one. So if this is Robin Hood's granddaughter, Mariel, then of course we have, I don't want to say skipped a generation, but yes, we have Robin Hood's child somewhere in the mix, and then we have Mariel, who is now trying to live up to this reputation. And I think that it really does a good job. That's why I think you could call this a sequel since I feel like we didn't get a sequel. And I do call it an unofficial sequel because, again, Lex Croucher did not write Robin Hood. But this is kind of spinning that tale. It is not a retelling. It is just something that it could be an accompaniment, perhaps. It is sassy and fun and silly, and I really enjoyed it. I have not read anything else by Lex Croucher, although they did mention that there was another one, so it might be a fun one to read. So I will have to go and maybe find that one as well. Mariel is very much the by the books kind of person, and maybe that's why she's so grumpy. But Clem is very off the cuff, and I kind of identify with Clem a little bit in that respect. It's like, do I want to be kidnapped? No. But if I was in her situation, could it be a fun adventure? Like, if I'm in this sort of fantasy realm and I'm just a healer, could this be a pretty good change of life? Maybe. Like, I think we could have some adventures to be had. I would love a little bit more adventure in my life. I feel like today's climate, we get a lot of those once in a lifetime events that happen every year, which is terrible. That is not what we need. But the adventure is not as prevalent. Now, a couple of reasons I only give it 4 stars is the pacing did start out a little slow. So we had to work up towards getting the ball rolling. We had to work up towards getting to the adventure and the mischief, and I guess I want to say the mayhem, so to speak. So we had to work up to getting there. And there are some points where, for me, as much as I like wit and sass, the timing didn't feel great for it. It just felt like, okay, that's a little cringy. But again, my personal thoughts on that, and other people may not see it that way. I think the characters felt a little flat at some point. But again, my thoughts, and the pacing does pick up towards the end. So just kind of going off that, the characters, I do like Mariel and Clem, but I think I needed to see just a little bit more growth in them throughout the book. I just needed more substance. Maybe that's what it is. Just a little bit more substance. But overall, really enjoyed it. Really liked it. I thought the audiobook was very well done. I really liked diving into the kind of Robin Hood realm again. When I picked it up, that was pretty much specifically why I picked it up. It's because I guess personally I had not I had not revisited the Sherwood Forest in a while. I had not revisited kind of the realm of Robin Hood in a little while, and felt like it would be a really fun sort of visit to that again. I really enjoy reading these sort of these takes on being able to take the story further, where people are kind of like, I want to explore what happens beyond the ending. So when people write stories, especially like a Cinderella almost sequel, so to speak, of what happens to a stepsister, or like this, Robin Hood's granddaughter, we feel like we get to continue the story in a kind of unofficial way. Now, could that be considered fan fiction? Well, of course, but I think a lot of things start off as fan fiction, and then we kind of bring it into this realm of being its own sort of entity. And that's perfectly fine in my thoughts, is once we're able to, like, the author is able to identify their own voice and take their creation in their own unique way, then that's when I feel like it does separate from being fan fiction, because we're not taking Robin Hood and Maid Marian on a new adventure. We are taking new characters in a similar theming to on a unique journey. So again, maybe we started in a realm of fan fiction of what if these characters did this, but we have now been able to create something new and unique that was pretty entertaining and fun. So again, my thoughts. I had a good time. I give it 4 stars, and kind of like to see what else comes along from Lex Croucher. But thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I do want to thank NetGalley for providing me an audio copy of this book as an advanced reader copy. And yeah, with all of that being said, I want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll like and subscribe and tune in again next time. We are almost halfway to 200 subscribers, and that's really surprising to me. So thank you so much, because I really do enjoy just doing these book reviews. Yeah, at 200, I think I'm going to do another Barnes & Noble gift card giveaway. And then I'm also probably going to do maybe like a live, but I'll have to plan that and kind of see where we go from there. Like, I will probably sit here with the book and read. I'll probably do a live. I probably won't read it out loud because, of course, a lot of that's going to be copywritten, so I won't be able to read it out loud, but maybe I can tell you guys what's going on in the book as I'm working through it, and maybe we can have a dialogue like that. Maybe you guys can message in as I'm sitting there and reading. I don't know. Maybe I'll even be writing a little bit. Who knows what I'll be doing, but if that sounds like something you'd be interested in watching, gosh, just leave me a thumbs up or let me know. I would I truly do wonder what the interest in that would be. But I do thank you so much. I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you guys on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.